Let's get to it, Guardian.
Okay, YouTube, what's going on? Mesa failed, Table Sean, whatever Sean, back at it with some Destiny. I'm here with General Datto of Her Majesty's Datto Forces. Woo! Sir, what's going on?
Not too much, man. How you been?
Good, man. Happy holidays. Thanks for joining me today. We're gonna do a Nightfall, and we're gonna just chat about a whole bunch of stuff concerning Destiny in 2016. Considering right now, if we thought there was kind of a lull after the Taken King came out, it's I think it's in full lull moment, and I know we kind of hear from more of the vocal people out there on Twitter about what's dying, and that the funniest one that I hear is that the Division's coming out. It's going to take everyone away from Destiny. And I'm like, listen, did you play the alpha, by the way?
I did play the alpha. I don't know. I don't think you're allowed to talk about any NDA stuff, but I did play it.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
It was a game.
Yeah, I'll just say,
I
played it. Yeah. I guess we really can't say anything about it.
We really can't.
I was about to say,
which kind of sucks, because I would love to talk about it, but what are you going to do?
Like, I was about to say an adjective about the game, but I guess we can't even say an adjective.
No.
All right, so anyway, you, as we were talking before, you were referencing this article regarding Hearthstone that kind of relates to what, the situation that's going on with Bungie and
it's
with 2016. Yes.
It's a video by Ben Brode, and if you don't know who Ben Brode is, let's just skip all these wizards.
Okay.
If you don't know who Ben Brode is, he's the senior game designer on Hearthstone. He's, I don't want to say he's like the Deej of Hearthstone because he's not a community manager, but people equate his face most to the game, and I think, that's a somewhat fair assessment to make. And recently, he put out a video on their YouTube channel that kind of addressed content updates. And I was like, oh, this is kind of familiar. Like, we're going through the same problem right now with Destiny. And I watched the video, and he just kind of talks about the disconnect between developer and community and player. And, whenever there's a lull in content, or just kind of like this period of time where like nothing's being said at all, and he'll see these posts like, oh, the dev team's just lazy, they're not doing anything, they're just goofing around. And that's not the case at all. And as I started to watch more of this video, which I'll link to you, and you should link in the description because I think it matches up pretty well. I realized that you could pretty much replace Ben Brode with Deej. You could replace all the Hearthstone with Destiny talk, and I think that would be exactly what Bungie would be saying with regards to the lack of content updates. Which is basically just like, we're working on stuff, but they never want to announce anything too early because, like, for example, Tavern Brawl is a game mode in Hearthstone, and a lot of the community thought that it was a reaction to the community wanting a fun kind of game mode, when in reality they had been working on this game mode since before Hearthstone had even come out. So it's it's a lot of just like the community not knowing really what goes on over at the offices, but it's also a lack of communication at times where it's just like they want to say something but they can't say anything for whatever reason, because maybe they start talking about some stuff early where they're like, we want to try this thing, and then it doesn't end up working out. But then the community sees that, like, oh, what? Why didn't you make that? That sounded awesome. Why didn't you do that? And it's just like whatever problem there was, whether it's logistical or just a gameplay issue, and just doesn't end up working out. The community will be like, what the hell? What? Just make that. What are you doing?
Right.
And it doesn't always work out that way. And I think people associate just the ability to throw money at a game. And that means, like, the more money we throw at it, the faster they can make it, right? That's how it works. And it's just, it's not. And this is not like I'm trying to make excuses for Bungie or anything like that. I think they should be, keeping us a little bit more in the loop. And, that recent tweet where they said, the Bungie Weekly Update is not going to have not anything big, but it's just going to have stuff for the February update. And everyone's just, you could hear the collective groan through the internet. And it's just, everyone goes, ugh, why? What is the content? But it's like, trust me, we're all dying for this content. I'm dying for it. You're dying for it. But there's some. I'm sure there's a method to the madness that we just don't know about.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I always tell people from a business perspective that people may not understand is that, they're a subsidiary of Activision. And anything that gets out or leaked or anything regarding, because technically, Destiny is said product, expansions are said product, and if, there are shareholders, Activision is a public company, and if stuff gets out, let's say somehow it gets leaked that major expansion hitting or whatever, then all of a sudden the stock's going to go up. People, like it'll make it to Kotaku, GameSpot, Game Informer, all that sort of stuff, and then that's a definite no-no just in terms of the business world. You know what I mean? And because I remember when Derek Carroll had made that comment about moving to a system of just live events and no more big expansions, and Kotaku ran with it, and apparently the entire internet ran with it.
Oh yeah.
One of the things I said was, like Derek is one of the multiplayer lead designers, and unless I heard something like that, and it's not a shot at Derek or anything, it's just, if I would have heard it out of Irk or Deej, then I would have been like, okay, we might be moving to this new whole, like live event type thing. But I kind of think my still speculation, and like always trying to look at the glass half full, so to speak, is I think we're going to get one more expansion. I know that we also that leaked image or whatever that came out, I guess it was probably like early year one, where it showed, okay, base game, 2 expansions. Do you want this heavy right here, or are you good?
Oh yeah, no, you give me that.
Okay.
I know what image you're talking about. Yeah.
So base game, then 2 expansions.
For like the 2 years.
Yeah. So that, and then Irk obviously tweeted out that funny Memento movie reference where don't believe this picture.
Right.
But like business, like working, like in corporate America, business plans change. Whether that's on the needs of the community, whether it's on the needs of the developer, whether it's on the needs of the publisher that owns the studio, or that is publishing said game and so forth. So people want answers, and I know people like just keep talking about transparency, but they legally can't say a word. And if word gets out there, it could create a shitstorm for for people that work there and so forth.
Right. Yeah. Right, I'm sure Bungie would love to be talking about a lot of the stuff that they're making. Totally, I'm sure. I agree with you that I think. Did you say that we were going to get one more expansion?
Yeah. Like my thing is like it would kind of okay. I'm praying for a Cabal expansion with a Cabal raid, because I feel like it will wrap up, or it's kind of like. Because like we've had the whole Vex DLC, we've had Hive DLC, the DLC, well, I guess the House of Wolves is sort of.
Oh my god, I just got
kind
destroyed.
of like, oops, okay, it's kind of like the related to the Fallen, but it's kind of related to everything, but still, the Cabal is kind of something we really haven't seen much of, except for their whole attack on the Dreadnought, and I think it would just wrap up Destiny 1 perfectly, just to have one more expansion with a raid in it. And I was surprised, actually, how many people, because we were going through this, I'm almost dead and I'm dead. I'm almost surprised, or actually maybe not surprised, when I was on Guardian Radio and they talked about how little people have completed these raids, and that it's not really a major, in their eyes, would you think it would be a real, oops, I think you just bumped me off, no, I'm cool. I think that, do you think it'd be a real selling point, like the whole raid thing? I mean, like the hardcores, like you and I, we want a raid, of course, but to the casuals out there, I mean, is it something it's that essential, So my thoughts with babbling through this is I think we'll get one expansion and then live events, and then they're obviously, from a business perspective, going to want to move us off of Destiny 1 and have everyone buy Destiny 2, so it could just make sense to just then start hyping up, Destiny 2 and, just keep us kind of occupied with live events and, who knows what other, kind of live events they'll be having,
Right. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think we'll see one very, very significant, maybe not very significant, but significant enough that it would please the masses kind of content update. And then we'll move on to Destiny 2, whatever it ends up being called. A lot of people love to ask me, like, are we going to drop our characters for Destiny 2, or are we going to have to, is it a completely new game? And the odds are so not in, or rather, I'll put it this way. The odds of us having to start our characters over is incredibly, incredibly low. I think that would be an incredibly stupid thing to make to say it's Destiny 2, it's an all new game. Like, I think it's just gonna be called Destiny something. You know, it's not gonna be called Destiny 2. It's not gonna be called, you know, the sequel to Destiny. It's just gonna be like the Taken King was. It's just a gigantic content update the size of a game. And
boxed editions and legendary editions and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it'll still have all that stuff.
Yeah.
But
wasn't it a leak that it's being called the Shattered Suns or something?
I've seen stuff like that. I've seen little, you know, jabs at it being called Shattered Suns. You know, based on all those rumors and whatever. But until I see some hard evidence, I don't believe anything. You know, but you know, conceptually, all those rumors, like, if that happened, I'd be like, yeah, that sounds plausible.
I just wonder how would it work with taking our characters from Destiny 1 over. You know, 'cause,
I would imagine it works the same way.
If it is technically
that it would take King, it just we just keep going. That's how I picture it happening. Whether or not that actually happens, I don't know, but. I do think it would be very, very dumb to completely start over.
Because is their goal going to be to get brand new players, or is it going to be to obviously carry all? Well, obviously it'll be to carry all of us over to stop playing Destiny 1. Well, I guess we'll just call it Destiny because we don't even know what the name's going to be. But no, you know, like I totally do see that of them not actually calling it Destiny 2, but Destiny with XX. You know,
and back to your original point, which I blanked out on when I was trying to talk about Destiny 2, whatever it ends up being called, and you know, we just see the hardcore perspective like all the time, and by hardcore I mean, you know, plays more than the average person, not like plays hardcore. Like, I consider myself a hardcore player, but I mean hardcore in terms of like you follow the game on YouTube, or you you go on Reddit, or you're on Twitter a lot. Like, that's what I mean by hardcore when I'm trying to kind of reference that. And so all we see are just like, you know, everyone's done with the game. Every single person who has ever played Destiny is completely done. Where's our new content? And like, obviously that's not true. And I think Taken King was filling up more time of everyone compared to at least year one of Destiny, the very, very beginning, you know, where there was just not a whole lot. And so, you know, the majority of players, I think, are still just getting through hard mode, or maybe even normal mode of King's Fall.
King's Fall, yeah.
So, you know, for us, more content's always going to be great, but there's always going to be plenty of people out there who have just barely completed anything. You know, I don't know. I'm sure you could, as soon as we get to a safe spot. Yeah, let's get to a safe spot and we can look at the trophies to see how many trophies, or what percentage of people who have played Taken King have the, you know, the raid completion trophy. But I can't imagine it's very high, you know, for the internet, for that vocal internet group. I'm sure it's very high, but for the overall player base, I'm sure it's nowhere close to 50%. I mean, here we can check right now. Trophies, Destiny, Taken King, and complete the King's Fall raid. 8.8%, 3.5% have done it on heroic. So that's less than 10% of the player base.
You know, because
who has bought Taken King.
Because I was kind of surprised at how many of my friends, you know, who are as, I guess, hardcore as me, got so burnt out on Taken King so fast, whereas I kind of feel like almost like some of them felt like they lasted longer with the House of Wolves. And for me personally, I felt like the Taken King had a lot more to offer than, you know, the House of Wolves. Other than that,
I agree.
I used to just grind Skolas for no particular reason. Every time my friends and I would do Skolas, we literally would take hours doing it and say, I don't ever want to see you or play with you ever again. And then like 2 days later,
yeah, you want to do Skolas?
Kill Skolas again? Yeah, fuck it, why not?
Yeah,
you know?
Funny how that works.
Because it's like you just can't say. And I don't know why, because I literally, the entire House of Wolves, I never got anything good, whether it's exotics or whether it's, you know, elemental primaries or anything. From
House
I
of
never got
Wolves had
anything
a lot
out
of
of
loot
those
problems.
chests.
It had a lot of loot problems.
Yeah, it was just.
But no, I agree.
Room,
Taken King definitely had more to do for the average player than House of Wolves did by most stretches of the imagination. But it's the hardcore, the people who can play a lot. They're going to be the people who just eat up the content, and Bungie's never going to be able to keep up with us. Yeah. It's never going to happen. They're never going to be able to keep up.
No.
Which is why.
Because one of the things
people want Forge mode and custom matches and ways for us to create our own fun. That's why I like doing challenge modes. I create my own fun. If you allow me to create my own fun and just do whatever I want, then I can have a better time playing the game.
Right. What one of the things I've been having a blast playing the Legacy playlist, even though it's so easy, but it's weird how much I actually miss all those old strikes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I get it why they're not in the weekly heroics and why they're not in the Nightfalls is because when the Taken King comes out, they almost and it does make kind of business sense whether it's tacky or not, but they really want people to move to the Taken King. You need the Taken King if you want to participate in all these things. But man, I would just absolutely love to have all those old strikes in either the 36 playlist, the weekly playlist. What's hitting me over here? Hold on.
That's all these damn shriekers.
Yeah, like on non-Nightfall mode, we usually can skip this and just run right through the doors there. But this is a bunch of wizards. All right, is that Blessing?
Suck. No, it's weapons.
Yeah.
Let's see.
That's fine. We can take them down quicker. Because also like people talk a lot about having the old raids put up to new levels and so forth, which I think would be great. But at the same time, the internet would go bonkers saying that they can't create new content, so they're just recycling the old stuff and da-da-da-da-da. But I mean, I did Crota and Vault of Glass last week just for kind of memory lane, and I mean, it was so much fun. I mean, granted, it was easy, but it brought back so many memories just from because for me, Crota's End is kind of near and dear to my heart because that was like the first raid I actually went in blind and learned from scratch. Because I was totally by myself for the first month and a half playing Destiny. I finally hooked up with Rezo like a month and a half after the game, and they kind of sherpered me through the Vault of Glass. So just going back in and hearing that music, that's why like whenever the Tier 3 Court of Oryx is the Fanatic of a Crota, I love hearing that music start off. It just brings back so many good memories. You know what I mean? All right, just a quick question. What are you going to use for your heavy for this part? Should we just machine gun them down?
Yeah, I'm just going to use
should we try to sword them?
I think sword too risky.
Yeah, I know. If we had 3 people, I'd say maybe some sword action.
Three people, I'll be a complete idiot, but with only 2, I'll play a little more careful.
I'll try to light them up with the fireball grenades, so we could see them. Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on old strikes and also the old raids?
So I'll counter that nostalgia with how long is that nostalgia going to carry you? How long is nostalgia going to carry content? Is nostalgia going to carry it another 3 months? Are you going to be happy with Vault of Glass for another 3 months?
Right.
They can't win either way because if they don't make anything new. And instead of rehash old stuff, it was like, Bungie can't, like you said, Bungie can't make anything new. They have to resort to making old stuff relevant again. Where's my new content? I'm playing this game. I want new stuff.
Yeah.
Where's my new stuff? So with those regards, they're not going to win. And would it be nice to see them back? Sure, but I know that is going to take away time for making new stuff. And I think overall, Bungie's going to have a much easier time enticing people to either return or to become a new player with new stuff as opposed to rehashing old stuff. As nice as, the current player base might enjoy that trip of nostalgia, I'm sure after the week or 2 that everyone has gotten any special items that might be offered, it'll get over real quick. Or the honeymoon period will not last a very long time.
No.
And they will have done all that work for about a week or 2 of nostalgia trips, and then everyone will go back to where's my new content. So it's a very tough spot to be in.
Yeah. What did you think of Sparrow Racing?
I thought it was fun. I thought it was very fun.
Yeah.
It was a nice little change of pace. People are always asking for more fun stuff, and I thought that was a fun stuff. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I think it worked pretty well as an event. Works well as like an Iron Banner style event where it's here for a little bit and then it goes away. I do miss those high level helms though to infuse with. Those would be nice.
Did you get a lot of 320s, man?
I
only got
zero
one 320 the whole time.
Zero 320s. But I did get a lot of like 317, 318, and for all my like 311, 313 helms, that was a very welcome addition. So I was happy with that. Right. But I just liked doing sparrow racing because it was fun, especially with my friends where we just do dumb stuff like go backwards or spinning the whole time, or just whatever stupid things we come up with.
I was surprised how much I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun. Because I know Deej told me when you and I went out to PSX, he goes, look, he's like, it's kind of like the Festival of the Lost, right? If people enjoy it and the numbers show, they'll bring it back. So he's like, we have 2 maps now. But don't fret, because if the numbers show and they do bring it back, developers will make more maps. And like I could see just from the fun factor and how it got really sweaty towards like the final week of it, where it was tough to win races when I was trying to finish my book and I finally finished it. But I would love to see more maps. I'd love to see just more bounties, maybe some more rewards, but maybe some rewards that aren't so tied to to Tess Everest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, Eververse and things like that.
That's always going to be a point of contention where it's like, okay, well, we gotta make this money back somehow, and because you look at it even in perspective of last year, like this time last year they had everyone buying Dark Below. They had all that Dark Below money coming in, guaranteed. God, this guy's just on me. Guaranteed $20 from a significant portion of the community, and this time around they don't have that. The book was $10, so even if everyone bought a book and a sparrow, they still would not have made as much money as they might have with like Dark Below. So that's something that's something no one wants to hear. Like no one wants to hear like, oh, Activision's not making this much money, blah, blah, blah. Like screw corporations. And it's like, at the end of the day, business is gonna business. They gotta business. They gotta pay the bills. They gotta do something to keep the lights on. Even a studio like Bungie, which seems unkillable, is it's 600 people in that office. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of power. And if this is something that's gonna keep the lights on, then that people. Not everyone has to buy, but they can just if some people want to contribute, they can. All right, it's okay.
Yeah, because
I think it's okay.
I mean, like I was really surprised how pissed off people get about how other people spend their money. You know what I mean? I'm like, all the stuff was cosmetic. I mean,
completely.
And like to
cosmetic.
be frank, like the sparrows on, just using them just out in the open, they're not as good as the my like Crucible Sparrow that I had upgraded. You know what I mean? Like they're fun and they look cool and all that sort of stuff. But
I mean, that just comes down to I want Thing, but I have to pay money for Thing. Why can't I just have Thing? And that's gonna be everybody at some point. I would have loved that electric sparrow. There's blue and black with all the lightning around it, but. Something I thought was dumb was that they made the sparrows random to get. Like, there was no guarantee of you getting a specific sparrow. If I could have gotten that specific sparrow, I would have bought one. But the fact that I could have bought 10 of them and not gotten it was very off-putting, so I didn't bother. But,
I totally agree with you on that story. Yeah. All right, man. Well, listen, thanks for coming on. Oh, Jesus. How many Nightfalls are they going to give me that damn thing?
At least it wasn't a ghost.
I must have gotten this... Well, no, I have 2 more Nightfalls to do this week, and because I did my Nightfalls with Bungie Informer and my Clemade Pickle Puncher, and we always take the bet after each Nightfall. Okay, who's gonna get the ghost shell this time? So, all right. Anyway, listen, thanks so much for coming on, man. Super appreciate it. Definitely fun to catch up with you, man. I like how we're both kind of in a positive camp in terms of looking at things from a different perspective. That things always seem to work out. In the end, it's a dry spell right now. We do get stressed out about that stuff as YouTubers and streamers and stuff like that. Well, you're more of a streamer than I am for sure, but I just going to look forward. And actually, I think it was really good when Bungie had tweeted out the fact that, hey, don't get, they already preempted the backlash for the 21st. That, hey, because if there's not a major announcement, everyone would go bonkers on the 21st.
Right,
So
yeah,
say, hey,
if they didn't soften the blow, just break the bone now and let it start healing. Don't make them snap 3 of their limbs right on the 21st. Let's break one and let it heal.
Yeah, no, totally, man. All right, cool, man. Well, listen, thanks for coming on, man.
No problem.
Guys, I'll link. Do I even have to link? What are you up to? 500, 600,000 now, Datto? Subs?
Almost at 500,000.
Well, congratulations. You're almost at
$4.99.
All right. I will link his channel in the description, and also that article that you referenced regarding Hearthstone in the description. And that's it, guys. So drop a link at this video only if you see fit. Follow me on Zit Twitter. Datto's Twitter will be in the description also. And that's it. We're out of here. Like Vladimir, say goodbye, Datto.
See ya.